As Help Desk Director at St. Thomas More High School, Robin Herrington created and manages one of the state's first student-run help desk, as well as laptop one-to-one program. But her main passions lie with getting more students involved in STEM education and bringing that education to technologically underdeveloped places around the world, like Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and most recently, Haiti. Stay tuned. This is Sheauxtime. Sheauxtime is a weekly podcast where I interview some of Acadiana's most inspiring and influential people. To stay up to date with release schedules, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, all under Sheauxtime Podcast. That, of course, is spelled the Cajun way, Sheaux Time Podcast. Also, if you'd like to sponsor this podcast, get in touch with me at SheauxtimePodcast@gmail.com. Again, Sheauxtime spelled the Cajun way. And now, on to the interview. Robin, how was your Christmas holidays?
It was good. Glad to be back in town and start this next school year off. Or semester, I guess.
You were telling me you were in, Bahamas recently?
I was.
For what?
Just because. Me and 3 of my friends, we went island hopping and got a boat, and we parked it in a yacht yard harbor, I guess is what it's called, and we were the smallest ones there by a long shot. But it was
Where did you get a boat?
We rented it.
You can just rent any, like a sailboat kind of thing, not like a yacht.
Oh no,
Okay,
definitely not. A Boston whaler. I don't know if you're familiar with boats.
Not much.
It's pretty tiny compared to everyone else.
That else parked at the harbor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
docked at the harbor. I guess
docked at the harbor. Yeah, those are the terms.
So yeah, right. Boat people.
Mm-hmm.
So that was for Christmas break, then?
Correct.
And so then during Thanksgiving, you were in Australia
And New Zealand. Yes.
So you're just traveling all over the world.
Well, that's the goal.
Yeah,
The
you've
goal
always been a
was
big traveler.
7 continents of 430. And Antarctica was the only one I didn't make. So I'm 30 now, and that was number 6.
I mean, do you have a real desire to go to Antarctica?
Financially, no. So
Okay.
other than that, it would be just to like have these conversations to say, hey, I've been there. But other than that, it's like $4,500 a day. So just not worth it.
I guess because it's so complicated to get there and to stay there.
Exactly.
They can't have that many people that go there.
Oh, definitely not.
It's got to be like less than a couple thousand that go a year.
Right, and they're all like scientists and researchers and those kind of things.
And you'd have to stay at their
random.
like scientific facility. It's not like there's a big Hilton or anything. Or is there?
There is not. Well, maybe some Airbnbs though.
There might be, or soon enough. You never know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe that's what I'll start.
Well, that's fun. So every continent but Antarctica.
Correct.
Before 30.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and I started in 2010. So.
Now, why then? Just financial reasons, or you didn't have it at the time?
Actually, in 2010, I was working in Baton Rouge, and I did my first technology mission trip. And so we went to Nicaragua, and that's where the passion for, really traveling and experiencing other cultures got started. So
yeah, now, I mean, especially just for technology, you've traveled all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, you've traveled, of course, but a lot of stuff has been based on technology, mission trips or whatever. Can you tell me about some of those?
So like I said, we started in Nicaragua. I went there twice and did some work over there. And then South Africa was a really cool one to start a computer lab over there. And then most recently, I've been going to Haiti. So this will be year 3 coming up in June. And I'm really excited about our partnership with Respire. And it's just been lots of fun.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's talk about what exactly you do here. What's your job title and where are we?
We are currently at your alma mater, St. Thomas More.
Right.
And my title is Help Desk Director. And so that's kind of how I started whenever I started back here in 2011. And then it's kind of expanded into a bunch of different things, but on the business cards and signature on the email, that's what it says.
Right. Well, what's cool about STM and the Help Desk and with you is that this is one of the only laptop one-to-one programs, but it's also one of the only, or is it the only student-run help desk?
We were the first co-ed student-run help desk. So, and that was back in 2011. And so since then, other schools have, tried to duplicate our program, and we've been used as a model around the world.
Which is a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's, always.
It's not like you want to be the only,
It's the best form of flattery, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It's been great to watch other schools, implement programs like this as well.
And, what people should understand is when you say it's a student-run help desk, they're actually employed. I mean, they're getting money. Can you explain that process a little bit?
Absolutely. So I have about 15 student employees that work for the school. They get their paychecks once a month, just like we do. And they work after school between 2:30 and 5:30, holidays, summers, all that kind of stuff. And, summers obviously are our biggest undertaking, but they do all of it from diagnosing the computers to repairing the computers, ordering the parts. They're on my conference calls with whoever computer company we're with, and they literally do it all.
Yeah. And so you had to get a computer company to partner with because you're ordering thousands of laptops at a time.
Absolutely.
And you're ordering parts all the time to fix problems, all that kind of stuff. So, like, what process do you go through to find the right company to partner with?
Well, we like the idea of a student-run help desk, and so there are only a few companies that, really support that idea. And Fujitsu is the one that supported our idea the best, and so that's who our partnership is with now. We are in year 3 of this cycle. We've already had 4 years with them for another cycle, and so we have 1 year left, and then who knows what'll happen. But it's really been great to have the partnership with them because they're in the office all the time. They come in town and watch these kids work, and really, they get inspired by watching the students, knowing what they can do with the computers as well.
So why is having a student-run help desk as opposed to hiring, an IT department a good thing?
Well, if we're going to be quite frank about it,
Sure.
it's cheaper. And so that's really how the whole thing started. And we're a school, and so we're focused on education. And so, I think every endeavor that I've done since I've been at STM is trying to be resume builders for these students. And so they are learning life skills, and customer service is huge. If you ask any of my students, a monkey can fix a computer. That's not the hard part. It's knowing, exactly why you need to fix this specific part and how to deal with the customer. Every person that comes here is going to be on their worst day. We obviously just finished midterms. You've got computers that are crashing and people are in tears. You have to know how to work with those kids and help them out.
So overall, though, the laptops and all this kind of stuff, in the 7 years now that you've done it here and you've done it prior in another school, is it the future? Is it the way to go?
1-to-1, I think, is definitely the way to go. I definitely like the machines that we have now, and having them to have the robust part of it, from anything from our engineering programs to using OneNote to all the stuff that we do in our editing for TV productions. If we didn't have our own devices to go home and edit on or finish our projects on, we would be definitely behind the curve. As computers get smaller and we get to more ultrabooks, I would love to see this place continue and run and have more places, but you just don't know what the future holds. If, the computer can't come apart anymore because it's an all-in-one, then, that's something that we would need to figure out. So,
And by that, you mean like they're making more computers that are all the parts are soldered in kind of deal. Like
Correct.
What you get is what you get.
Correct.
If you want to upgrade, you buy another one.
Correct. And so now, obviously we would still have our students do software programs and other kind of fixes. They even work on our projectors on our campus. They do soundboards, any of those kind of things as well. So there'll always be things for them to do. And I hope that this, continues, that they'll be able to do as much hardware as they do now.
Right. But that's kind of where you see computers and all that going towards that. I guess that's kind of what MacBook and the Ultra, is it Ultrabook or Chromebook?
Ultrabooks.
Those
Not
are
Chromebooks. They're a little different there.
A little different?
Yes.
But like the MacBook, for example, that's all soldered in.
Correct. And so those are things,
yeah.
Obviously that you were looking for certain kind of computers, but we like that we can make upgrades to ourselves or that we can repair them. It's a lot faster. Our turnaround time, is a day. And so a kid can get a loaner computer, and then we repair their computer in-house, and then they get them right back. And so instead of having to ship them off to a third-party company or to have another IT worker, obviously if there's only 3 adults in our technology department. So if we had, if we needed as many for our 1,200 computers, that would, obviously cost a lot as
Right.
well. So.
Yeah, a lot more loaners.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say you give a kid a loaner computer, you basically, if it's not a hard drive issue, you'll take out their hard drive, put in a loaner, and then fix the rest of the computer, or...
Well, I'm a big proponent for backing up.
Yes, of course. I remember that one.
So, teachers, we do that for their information for security purposes and all that kind of stuff, even though, my students that work for me know that if they did something on a computer or on one of our servers or network, that they get double the consequences of anybody else on our campus.
Sure, they have a lot more responsibility.
Absolutely. And so, I hold them, and so do our faculty members, to a higher standard than anyone else on this campus. And I think that they know that, and they take pride in working here. But yeah, with cloud computing these days, with Google Drive and OneDrive, it's so easy to have everything on the cloud that you really can log onto a loaner computer, log into your accounts, and have all of your information right there.
Yeah. You've done this now at STM. You're coming up on your 7th year.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is 7th year right now.
This is the 7th, yeah. You've had, God, how many kids now that have come through and graduated through the help desk program?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It's got to be close to, I mean, it's over 100 now, right? Because it's probably 15 a year
Yeah,
for
but
7
they're in
years.
all 4 different years though as well. So I would say
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
about 60 to 80 I would think about.
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, those that have been in my class versus actual employees. Yeah.
Right, because it's not just the employees. You have people that also take your computer architecture class that are involved with fixing laptops. They're just not necessarily
Correct.
working.
So some people, don't have a time commitment and they really, are only work during the summer. I'm a pretty flexible person. And they, oh, I have a passion for it, but, I really need to go to soccer practice every day in the afternoon. So I want to learn more things, but I can't commit. So I have, those students as well.
Right. And you had mentioned earlier that summers is a big time. Is that just because you have to prep now every laptop? Because at the end of the year, the kids are giving you back their laptops, or are they keeping them during the summer?
So they give them back, and the way I used to do it in grade order, so senior privilege, you get your computer back fastest. And then about 2 years ago, I think I changed it to the condition of your computer. So if your computer looks great and it just needs to have, a reimage, meaning it has the newest software on it, then you can get it back, within the week of getting out of school. And so I think that kind of is an extra incentive for them to, keep track of their computers and take care of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think at the beginning it was a little bit crazy, but I think now most people, are they respecting the computers and all that kind of stuff a lot more?
Absolutely. I think,
Yeah.
having the smaller computers than we had beforehand, a lot of kids when we started this program had a computer at home. And so they're like, why are we doing this? What do we need it for? And then just certain kinks that we need to work out as far as our discipline was concerned. I think that was, live and learn situation. I had never worked in a co-ed environment before. And so things that I was dealing with boys maybe were a little bit different than I had beforehand. And so, I think we've learned a lot. They rely on these computers. I mean, a lot of these kids buy these exact units whenever they go off to college because they can't live without pen and touch. They can't live without, it rotating into a tablet, all of these features that have been built around their education experience.
That kind of brings me to my next question, which is about Mac versus PC and the decision that you had for that. Is one of the main decisions the pen and touch and being able to transfer it into a laptop mode and then a tablet mode?
Absolutely. I think that's probably our biggest. And then, just as far as the job market is concerned, out of the top 10 or 25 skill sets that you need, Microsoft is the only actual brand name that is on that list. And so I think that being certified in the Office suite is very important and knowing all that through Windows. And that's just still where our market is as far as jobs are concerned. And we want to be a college prep school. We want to be a real world prep school. And I think that that's what does that.
And I think as far as your help desk employees and people that take computer architecture, they're going to go into fields that use PCs a lot more.
Absolutely.
Right? For me, it was generally Mac, although I'm very tempted now to switch over to PC. I've been having issues.
Yeah.
But for the people that are doing computer architecture and they're learning software development and that kind of stuff, they're going to be in a PC primarily market. And you have people that are now doing kind of like IT services for places. And the people that they're servicing are generally going to be PC owners and not Mac owners.
Absolutely.
Right.
I would say out of my 15 employees, at least 12 of them have built their own desktops. That's a passion. That's a hobby of theirs. What do they get for Christmas? Oh, I got some new RAM or the latest processor and those kind of things. And they get so excited about it. And so to not be able to, because at the end of the day, they're tinkerers. They like to build, they like to break down, and they like to have custom machines. And so I think that's a huge
and
plus.
that's what's so incredible too about computer technology. If you can learn to build it, which is not that complicated. The computer that you can build for the same amount that you could buy it
Absolutely.
is 5 times faster.
Absolutely.
It's insane.
Right.
Yeah. So you got kids that are experimenting with that. You also have a lot of kids that have their A+ certifications. What's first off, what is an A+ certification for those who don't know, and why is that an important thing to have?
So it's the industry standard for technology. And so I like to push it on my students.
Right.
We got a new semester starting, next week. And I think that's, a lot of their goals before summertime is to, get A+ certified.
These are your computer architecture students?
And independent study and technology. Yes.
Gotcha.
More of those kids because the classes are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can pick a buddy. We've got OneNote notebooks. We've got YouTube videos that we use.
And it's not an easy test.
No,
Becoming A+ certified is a serious deal.
It's definitely not. They, are definitely the youngest person. You have to go to testing center to take it. And they're going to be the youngest person in the room by a long shot. And there will be, grown men that will come out crying because they haven't passed this test and they need it for their jobs.
And they've taken it probably 3 times already.
Exactly.
It's not an easy test.
No. And it's not a cheap test either. And so, we fully support them in taking this. And I, tell all my students, I don't care if you're going to continue your education in technology, whether you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer afterwards. To say that you got this certification as a high school student is impressive. That you were that devoted to studying and, trying to get the certification. So It's a really big deal. And I think for the kids who, like your age group who have graduated from college now, and stuck with it and went to computer science and they knew these bases in their, intro classes and all that kind of stuff because of the stuff not only did they learn here, but they learned, through studying for A+.
Right. So, tell me a little bit about your alumni or alumnus. What is it at that point? Alumni. Yeah. Or alumni, not with an S.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about some of the alumni of the help desk program. What kind of fields are they in right now? I mean, I just saw Nick.
Yeah.
I literally saw him walking into Reds. I know Timmy and Spencer are doing things, and you have younger kids that I haven't even met.
Timmy are working in the same company, so.
Right. So, what are they doing, and what has the help desk done for them?
It's awesome. So I was actually doing an interview last year for something, and my big takeaway was that this is my year where my first group of kids that I really worked a lot with are graduating from college and they're starting their own jobs,
getting into the workforce.
Yeah, and
right.
so I'm very fortunate that I still talk to most of my alums on a regular basis.
Yep.
I think going to Haiti as well has been something fun because, I only bring alums. And so it brings everybody back together and just, a check-in once a year of how things are going. I had lunch yesterday with an alum who's at Rice right now, Rebecca, and she's, doing awesome things and, still trying to figure out her major. And was like, we've all been there and trying to figure out their path. But yeah, I'm excited to see in the next 5 years as well, where they'll all go.
Right, because I think it's still just a little early. It's going to be really exciting.
No one's totally changed the world yet, but I still have faith in a few of them. So.
Well, yeah, because, again, they're just coming out of college, your first year of alums, and that's going to be really cool to see what happens in 5 to 10 years, where these guys and girls are going, because the seed that you planted here has certainly sprouted in these individuals, and they're going on to good things. That brings me to the funny point of, do you remember when you first came here? Do you remember that first year?
I do remember that first year.
Let's just take a trip down memory lane, if you will. Okay, so
good times. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you were formerly at St. Joseph's Academy in Baton Rouge.
That's correct.
And y'all had a similar program.
Correct.
Was it 1-to-1 or was it?
It was. So
they still have that program.
They still have that program. They started in '98, actually.
They were really revolutionary.
The pioneers of it, yes.
Yeah, and that's an all-girls school.
Correct. Yep. And I actually graduated from there and had no desire to, I had my laptop all 4 years, but I had no desire to work in the help desk. I had some friends that did.
So they had a student-run help desk too?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And so, and then when I graduated from college, if we're going to go into the whole story here, I graduated in the recession. And so it was a little bit difficult for me to find a job. And so I moved back down to Baton Rouge, and I called the principal at the time, Linda Harbison, and was like, do you know anybody? Do you know anything? I'm looking for a job. And so she's like, well, we have a job as a assistant librarian. And so I was like, you know what? I'll take it. And like, you're laughing now, all of my friends made fun of me, and they're like, you're the loudest person I know. How are you going to work in a library?
How can you be quiet in a library?
And I'm like, you know what? It's a job. And so I did that, and then they, similar to this, had their help desk attached to their library. And so I was like, well, what's going on over there? They look like they're, moving and doing things, and it's busy going over there. And so I started, being curious, and then they said, if you take the test, the A+ certification, then you can move over to the technology side instead of working in the library. And so I'd never heard of A+ before. I'd never done anything technology related. And, I looked it up on YouTube, got a book, 2 months later, took this test, passed it, and, started over there. So
you weren't really into tech until after college?
No.
It came almost out of desperation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
The recession will do that to you.
Very good. And so at a point, though, you got an offer to come here.
Yes.
And that was to start basically the same program here.
Correct.
And so we had kind of started, and it wasn't working out too well with the previous person, and we we were a bunch of guys mostly. It wasn't many girls in the help desk.
Correct.
When you came in. And you came in, and Robin, you're a wonderful, wonderful human being. Listen, we
Is
all,
that how we're gonna say it?
we all love you. There's a reason that you still get to hang out with your alumni now, and that we all want to visit with you and keep you up to date. But my God, when you first came in, we were so intimidated from you. You were loud, you were scary, you were opinionated, and we hated you. It was so bad. And but it took, we started to learn that you knew what you were talking about, and that we actually should probably listen. It might have been even a little bit sexist, just because we weren't used to a woman bossing us around.
Well, I think, in all honesty, though, too, I'm 24, I'm like, y'all are 17, 18 years old. So I had to come in, acting
That's true. That's true. Because you were so close in age to us that if you hadn't come in, guns a-blazing, we would have, maybe not taken you as seriously.
Well, that was, it was also crazy because I was going to South Africa then. So I had my first day of work at STM. And I met all of you guys, gave you a to-do list, and said, all right, I'm going to South Africa for the next 2.5 weeks for a mission trip for my previous school. All this better be done when I get back. And so I think that was also like, is she serious? Like, what needs to be done? But we had some rocky points, but I mean, like you said, I mean, I'm still in touch with all you guys.
No, look, we love you. It just took, it was a definite warming period because we were not used to that kind of, well, it really is the speed. I mean, you're a fast talker, granted. Okay.
Fact.
So that's already something, but it was the speed with which you worked. I mean, like, you wanted things done. You wanted it done yesterday. And so I think it was
and
more
I'm
of
still like that.
You haven't changed a bit, but I think people have just adapted to you.
Right.
But when you first came here, I think it was more of a leisure attitude, and you shocked us all, intimidated us.
I mean,
and it took a minute to appreciate your work ethic and that kind of thing. And so, but again, like I said, I think people adapted to your work ethic. They adapted to the speed, and we all love you.
Right. Students that aren't mine definitely still see that,
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
it's definitely
If they don't spend enough time with you, they're
like,
she's scary,
right?
man.
And they're like, oh wait, she really isn't that bad. And I'm just like, don't think I'm a mean person. I'm just,
I think in another 3 or 4 years, people will start really adapting to you.
Well, if they haven't yet, I mean, this is what you get.
Yeah. There's no change it now, for sure.
Definitely not.
That's hilarious. But so anyway, so the first the first year was a rocky year, but like, it'll be always in all of our memory about how this program was started, and no one had ever had laptops at school before. I mean, it was an interesting year. Do you remember that? Like, how complicated it was?
Absolutely. I remember every bit of it. I mean, I go around to schools all the time and talk about, starting the program. And one of the big things, is they have all this research that they do, and like, when's a good time to start, and when should the teachers get the computers, and when were the students get the computers. And still to this day, I think we're probably the only ones that gave our teachers and our students the computers basically at the same time. Our teachers got them in May when they were turning in their grades for exams and all that kind of stuff. And then we had the summer, and then the kids got them in August. So most schools wait an entire year. Teachers have them first, and then the students have them. And we're, not like that. And so I think, the teachers definitely hated that as well. And
they got it at the same time?
Correct. And they just freaked out because they weren't, they're teachers, they want to prepare, they want to plan, they want to know all of these things. But then looking back on it after year 1, after year 2, they were just like, we wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely was a cultural shift in our school, to know that you can rely on these kids, especially my help desk kids, that like, they do know how to use these computers, and they can help you out with these problems. And so it might be, the shy kind of nerdy kid, who's never spoken in class is now the one helping you with projector, or helping you, do something with your program. And so I think that's really, cool for them to see that spotlight on some of these kids as well.
Yeah. I want to talk a little about, women in STEM fields, because it brings it to an interesting point. Like I was saying, before you were here, right? I think it was all guys that were in the help desk for like the couple months before you came in and changed it up. And, we were, and I want to talk about Haiti in a second, but I'm going to mention it real quick.
Yeah.
Which was that we were at Haiti one time, and we were all just kind of like visiting about stuff. I mean, we were just chatting. It was, a good time for conversation. And one of the things we brought up was women in STEM, and how Rebecca, who's one of the most brilliant people that ever came out of the help desk program, the one you said that's at Rice right now, she had mentioned that if it wasn't for you, like, she would have never gotten into technology, because she needed to see like a woman who was in charge and that liked science, and that it made her feel like it wasn't weird for a girl to like science and technology and all that kind of stuff. So is that something you're very passionate about? And,
absolutely.
Well, I mean, obviously, okay. But like, let's delve a little bit deeper.
Well, my kids think I'm an ultra feminist, and that, it's all girls or nothing, which is not true.
Yeah.
But, there's statistics that, when you're sitting in a classroom, that you're more likely to call on a boy than you are on a girl. And, when I read that, and I was just like, me, who is like always trying to like promote the girl, especially in STEM, like realize that I did it myself. And so it's just, a cultural shift that we need to do. And if somebody can do that at this school, that was a big difference from me going to an all-girl school to going to a co-ed school, because at the all-girl school, everyone thought that they could rule the world, and take
Right,
over
they had no one.
completely.
Yeah,
No,
right.
no one was
Well,
telling
and
them
that's an
different.
interesting point. Like you were saying, is like there's the all guy school doesn't have a laptop program, do they?
Oh, well, they do now.
They do
yes.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, but they didn't at whenever you were there,
Correct, correct.
and so you had the all girl school who had the student run help desk. They had all laptop 1-to-1 program. They had people in technology. And so yeah, it must have been kind of weird coming here
Right.
where it wasn't,
And I'm
and people weren't
literally
used to
begging
that.
girls. And so,
Yeah.
obviously I come off a little strong, and they're
Yeah.
like, who's this freak that wants me to work in, help desk? I have, no desire, or I don't know how to, use a screwdriver and those kind of things. I'm like, well, that's what it's a school. We're going to teach
Right.
you those kind of
Right.
things. And so, yeah, I think it's a huge passion of mine, and I wish, we're growing still. And, but I would definitely love to see more girls involved in STEM for sure.
Yeah, and I mean it's an interesting thing because, like you said, sometimes you have to convince both sides. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
shy people that just aren't used to doing this kind of stuff, or like maybe they have an interest in it, but they don't want to necessarily dive into it, or have to teach, or have to speak to people and
Right.
explain to them their computer problems, but they know it. But I mean, since you've been here, though, I mean, you've had a lot of girls come through this program now.
More recently than I've ever had, so that's
Yeah.
really good. I mean, and I think it's just
progressing as the years go on.
exactly
Yeah.
word gets out. Your friends are starting to do it, and then oh, this is a cool place. We get to go on cool trips. We go speak at conferences. Like there's a lot of good resume building aspects that are a part of this job as well. And then I like to think that I'm pretty cool and fun. So, I mean, what other job? I mean, can you just last hour bell rings and you just walk down the hall and you can automatically clock in and start getting paid,
Yeah,
for
it's
those
nice.
especially that, don't have a car yet, or, can't get from one place to another, or they're too young. It helps them out to be working here.
Absolutely. I mean, they're saving money for whatever it is. So whether it's college tuition, their books. I mean, they're making money while in high school, but they're not working at a Starbucks or something. They're actually working on a resume builder
Exactly.
and making money from
Right.
it, which is really nice. Let's see. I know I wanted to talk a little bit about Haiti, so let's just jump into that now. So you've been going to Haiti now, was this going to be your third year?
This will be third year. Yes.
And if you haven't heard the episode 11 of Sheauxtime with Megan Boudreau, which is Respire Haiti, she's also a Lafayette native that went to Haiti and started a school there. Incredible story. I suggest go and listen to it. But recently, 3 years ago, Robin and the help desk alum / it was all alum, right? It
Mhm.
wasn't, yeah.
Mhm.
Went to Haiti to basically bring the old laptops in partnership with Fujitsu. Bring the old laptops after they had updated their roster of laptops to give them a science lab, a computer lab, basically.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
year one was just kind of, some for faculty, some for students so they can learn. And just kind of, year one, anytime I kind of do a technology mission trip, is just assessing the situation. We don't want to come in and be like, oh, this is how we're going to run things. And this,
Yeah.
this is your school. This is
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
environment. No way trying to do anything like that.
Right.
And so we assessed the needs. And, when Megan said we built this campus with this specific room envisioned for a computer lab, then, the partnership just meshed, and it was great for us to actually do that. So then, year two, Fujitsu actually donated 40 more computers that just showed up to school one day when I was actually not here. And the principal called me and they're like, do you know about a delivery on this campus? And I'm like, no.
It's a big delivery.
It's a big delivery. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no idea. My sister's having a baby. And I'm just like, can we just deal with it when I get back? Come to find out, Fujitsu had donated all these computers.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we were able
So
to.
they were really supportive of the
They
of
were.
the Haiti tech.
They are a great partnership to work with. And they also see the advantage of giving back.
Mhm.
When we had our first laptops, they were able to, go away and see the value of them. And we knew that we were, when our 4-year cycle ended, that we could do something with them. And so
Yeah.
what better way than to, donate them to somebody else?
And so, I mean, what's crazy with Haiti is, I mean, a lot of these kids have never seen a computer.
Yeah.
Most of them.
It's
I'd probably
incredible.
say like 98% of them have
Correct.
never seen a computer, touched a computer. And so, yeah, I mean, wow, what a year to be able to, like, especially the first year where they're seeing it for the first time and you're just setting everything up. and they're getting to experiment on the computer. And of course, they're kids, and it's like kids just have this natural inclination to learn
They do.
fast. So whether they're in Haiti and have never seen a computer before, within a year they're picking it up.
Absolutely.
Which is such an incredible skill for them to have if they ever decide to leave Haiti. Or as when I talked to Megan about it, her hope was that they could just make Haiti even better.
Correct.
Which
really is the goal.
Right, of course.
Is to make your own countries better.
Exactly.
You don't need to go off and do something else. But it's just really inspiring to see those kids and know that, I mean, we're in this room and they're, so curious, and it's over 100 degrees in there, and we're, doing wires, and these kids are just peeking in the hall, and they're just, what's going on? And just, I mean, fell in love with it automatically, and it was just incredible to see.
Well, yeah, and something so amazing. I remember the year I went with y'all was that we were teaching one of the kids, or a couple of them, because you got to teach the teachers there, of course,
right,
how to use it. But then there was like those couple of kids that were actually learning how to take it apart,
right?
Because I guess they had already experimented a little bit with computers,
right.
So they were familiar with the software side. But like I remember Nick sitting there and Sam sitting there with I forget his name, and he was learning how to he was learning how to take apart the computer completely and revitalize it, and he was basically going to start being the person that was going to assess if the computers got damaged.
Well, the weird thing is that I'm pretty sure that's like the high school standard is that you have to have some technology piece whenever you graduate, and it's just like, well, how am I supposed to learn these things? Mm-hmm.
Really?
How am I supposed to learn these things if I have never seen a computer before?
Right.
And then one of the things that I love about these technology mission trips is that technology is the same in every language. And so I will never forget,
ones and zeros.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but like we're in Nicaragua, and I mean, I took French the whole time. Not that I'm good at that either, but we're in Spanish, and we're taking apart the computers, and we're trying to, figure out the word for hard drive. And it's like, talking about what all it does and all that kind of stuff. And we're going on this 5-minute conversation, and the guy looks over at me and he's like, hard drive? And I was like, yeah, hard drive. And I was like, oh yeah, computer parts are also the same in every language, And
right.
So when Megan was trying to explain mouse this year, and it was just funny because it's like cat and mouse, and how do you explain that in a different language? But they all knew what we were talking about. So.
Yeah. Well, and especially with Nicaragua, that was really cool because you got to be with Ian Granados, who speaks Spanish. So that was pretty cool to see.
Well, that was actually in Costa Rica, which is another mission trip of ours as well. So
you've done so many, you can't even keep track of it. But that was just super cool being able to see him communicate, in the language.
Yes. Well, it was real fun whenever his mom emailed me the day before we left, and he's like, now don't let Ian lie to you. He's fluent in Spanish, so you use him however you need to.
Right.
And so he literally
stay in the back and not say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a big fan of body language, and so trying to figure it out. But there was the principal of the school actually in Costa Rica just was like, nope, Ian, and every time I would go and speak to her, she would grab him and would just like immediately start translating, and it was really cute.
That is awesome. And so do you have any desire now to try and learn Haitian Creole for the next couple of times you go to Haiti?
Absolutely. I mean, the desire is always to learn the language of the place that I'm working at. I'm just, I can understand languages, I feel, better than I can actually speak them.
Yeah.
But sure. I wish I could be like Megan and just
learn it overnight, right?
Yeah.
It's funny when I was talking to her, she mentioned how her husband had to learn the normal way,
Correct.
which is actually saying, he's like, well, I wish I got the miracle too.
Exactly.
But,
don't we all?
Yeah. But anyway, so what at Haiti have you, like, where are we at our third year now? So you started an intranet, or do they have internet?
We have both.
Yeah.
Yes. So they have fiber there, and we
Can you explain that to the lay people?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so the internet is basically like you and I know it, from you to be able to ping out and access any website or thing in the world.
Yep.
Intranet is basically an at-home network, and so you and I peer-to-peer can talk to each other and transfer data, and we don't need the outside world to connect to us at that same time.
So if you have, let's say, 40 computers, they can all be connected via intranet, and so
Correct.
you can access them and share files, but you're not accessing the World Wide Web.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, we brought some Raspberry Pis there this past summer, whenever we set up the internet. And
again, people are going to think Raspberry Pis are an actual delicious dish.
Which is not correct.
Yes. So can you explain that?
So it is a micro computer. So basically it's a little square. There's probably 10 in these little cubbies over here.
Yeah.
And it is a microcomputer, and it's, you can have some that are, the average is like $35, but you can hook up a monitor to it and a keyboard, and you have a full working computer. And so we use a lot of those as servers, and so that's what our big goal for this year is, to set up some more things like that. And then I'm really curious for online schools and how we can help do that in Haiti. This one kid that was there, his school burned down, and so he's just not in school anymore. So, to be able to, with the power of the internet and having these laptops, if they can take some courses, maybe through the United States or anything like that, that would be really cool.
Yeah, it would be. Where do you? Okay, well, let's talk about fiber real quick. So Lafayette has fiber.
Yes.
STM has always been utilizing it. They've kind of been pioneering it, especially with the laptop
Absolutely.
101 program. What are the benefits of fiber, and where do you see, like, what is the potential with fiber, especially a municipality run fiber system?
Well, so my little techie friend in New Orleans the other day, he texted me and he's like, "Oh, I just got fiber at my house," and I'm like, "Yeah, welcome to 10 years ago," And he's like, "I know, it's terrible." And so I think that that's something that Lafayette doesn't realize that we have had, and you see these you see these cities that like Google's partnering with, and how important fiber really is. And so I think it's a game changer. It's kind of embarrassing whenever I go and speak to other schools. And, how do you start a 1-to-1 program? And what's your internet like? And I'm like, oh, well, we have fiber, and we this is how much we have. And they're like, oh, well, we can't even like compete with that.
Right.
But I think I'm also a big proponent that the internet should be free,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's all this discussion about Haslow's hierarchy of needs and whether the internet is one. And so if used the right way, and that's what I think our students need to learn, especially from the world perspective, is it's not just for video gaming and how to YouTube, how to play the guitar, but I mean it really can teach you anything. It can teach me the Haitian Creole that I need to learn how to do.
Or like you said, you learned A+ certification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think it's only growing more, and it's interesting to see where it'll pan out.
Coding. Is that something that you're implementing more into your classrooms now?
We try to. We definitely we have a computer science class on our campus, and we have an engineering class, and then our STEM club as well. So with all of those aspects, we really try and have as much coding as possible. And then the hour of code, I mean, they do a great job of promoting it as well.
Right.
So that's a nationwide, worldwide organization.
Oh, you mean like each day it's just code for an hour kind of thing?
Well, yeah. So the first week of December is Computer Science Week. And so code.org does this whole big promotion for the hour of code.
Oh, okay.
And so they try and, get as many people to at least experience, a little bit of coding. So, my personal students think that, that is not really even remotely what real coding is like, but it's like it still gives them, the aspect of what it can do.
Well, I think what's interesting about coding is really the only barrier to entry is the fact that it sounds scary.
Yes,
and it seems
exactly.
scary. So that's a smart idea, which is, of course, it's not real code. I mean, it's real coding, but it's very simplified coding.
Correct.
But if you see it and you go, oh, so that's what coding is?
Exactly.
It's,
you can see the light turn on at the end, kind of like circuits, you can see the light. You can see,
Right.
The ball move across the screen,
Right.
Any of those kind of things.
Right.
It definitely inspires
it just shows you,
to,
okay, so it's not, it takes the scariness a little bit away.
Exactly.
I mean, you can delve into it,
right.
obviously,
right.
but it makes that barrier to entry just a little bit less scary. And you say like, okay, I kind of get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think, well, I still need to learn more coding, but I think it's such a, it's the future.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the jobs in the next 10 to 20 years are going to require some coding experience.
Right.
So it's good to know that like high schools and that kind of thing are teaching it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing a promo video for one of the middle schools here, and they're starting to teach kids how to code and play with, Arduino boards and 3D printers and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's a smart thing to do.
Well, it's interesting about, the more hands-on aspect that we're kind of going back, to that and like old school kind of in the teaching. And so it's not just lecture halls and you're, sitting there staring at a board, the teacher is just there to guide you. And I mean, you're always playing with something in my class,
Right.
like
it's experimentation.
Exactly.
Right.
And we're going to learn it together, and we're not going to, be afraid of failure.
Well, I think that's what's cool about you too, is that like some of the stuff you have no idea how to do yet, right?
Correct.
But I mean, like, it's not like your fault. It's just, it's a, like most teachers would never.
Right.
But what you say is like, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Let's build a 3D printer from scratch and let's
Absolutely.
figure out how to do it. I've never done it before, but I'm sure we can figure it out together.
Exactly. At this time last year, I just gotten back from Boston, and we went, I just personally went to the MIT Museum, and there's a whole room dedicated to holograms. And I'm just like, never even thought about holograms before, So that was in, December, and then school classes start in January. It's a semester class. And I was like, you know what, kids, we're going to work on holograms this semester, And so we did, and we built some really cool things. And it was just like nothing that had even like dawned on me before, And so, and that's what I think is cool about technology. I mean, like CES is the Consumer Electronics Show, which starts tomorrow or Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's always cool to see what ideas are coming out there next and what cool projects that we can work on.
I always take a look at it because I like the camera stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's so much more than just
so
that.
much, yeah.
Yeah, right. So where do you see this program evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
It'll be interesting to see. I think
I mean, you obviously have oversight, so it's not just whatever your vision is.
Correct.
Right. I mean,
right. Yes. But I think
you are
that they they more STEM focus, more innovation, more hands-on things. Our engineering teacher is phenomenal. She's a woman as well, and I think that definitely is a huge help as far as promoting. I mean, she's a rock star. Like
Yeah.
I tell,
Now, where does she come from? Is she from here, or she found out about us?
Yep.
She'd be so offended.
No, she really would. No. She is from here, I think. I think her husband like moved here or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Good question. I did know, but because I did ask her once, like when we were doing our own video for STEM, like
Right.
what got you interested in this and these kind of things as well. And I think that's interesting to figure out everyone's story. And so she is a lot like me in the aspect of, right, I know what's going on, but we can sit here and we can figure it out together. But she
Yeah.
figures it out a lot faster than I do. So
She's a rock star.
she
Baseline,
is.
she's a rock star.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
And so I think the kids love taking her class because they're doing extremely challenging things.
Right. That's more focused on like building stuff, right?
Mostly, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
It's more hardware based.
Correct,
Right?
correct. But 3D printing and just mechanical engineering, electrical, those kind of things,
Yeah.
circuits. They do all of that in that class. So it's a lot of
awesome.
fun.
It's a good skill to learn.
Yes, I love walking in there. So my class is in between her 2 engineering classes. So I always like to check out what kind
Take a
of
little
projects they
peek.
are
Yeah.
exactly and how we can work on them together.
Let's talk about CougarCast a little bit.
Okay.
Because hopefully we'll be featured on CougarCast.
Absolutely.
That's a really cool thing. And I mean, I just got to check it out. The new studio looks amazing.
Thank you.
It's really improved.
From the closet we were in last year.
Yeah, exactly. You got to start somewhere.
You do.
Okay.
You
You got to
do.
start somewhere, Robin.
Yeah.
Hopefully, one day I won't be traveling to everyone to do these interviews.
You'll have your own little studio
Maybe
as well.
so. It's a
One
lot of
day.
camera gear to pack up. But so yeah, like what got you the inspiration to start something like that? And where has it gone, and where are you going with that?
So last summer, we were in Colorado at ISTE, which is the International Society of Technology Education. It's a conference that we send teachers and faculty members to every year. And so we happened to be there in Denver, and we were at dinner that night. And, this idea came up about running our own show. And so we had talked about it a little bit before. And we're like, you know what, this is the year to do it. And so our principal happened to be there at the time, and then myself, and then our former speech and debate coach. And so, the 3 of us joined heads together and said, let's make it happen. And so that was the last week of June, and we had our first show the first week of August. And so as far as ordering equipment is, going and making our little studio in the closet.
And how are you
was definitely-
broadcasting it to? Is it so everyone's watching it on their laptops?
Yes.
Because back in the day, I remember we used to watch like the TV. Remember the old
Channel
school,
1?
yeah,
Yes.
Channel 1 on the old school TVs, and that's how we got our news in the morning. Kind of thing.
So
And then when the laptops came, we had kind of, it was like a gap of 3 or 4 years where we weren't watching the news in the morning or getting an update.
right.
Because we didn't have CougarCast and we didn't have Channel 1 anymore.
Correct.
So this is
5
kind
or
of
6 years, it was
It was longer than that.
It was longer than
Okay.
that, but yeah.
We'll go.
And so this idea was born, and it started as a club, and we watched it on livestream.com, and the teachers projected on their projectors, and then the kids watched it in the classrooms. But we've had some problems with it kind of dropping, and we're trying to figure out, is it the projectors, is it our internet, what's going on? So then one of my help desk kids was like, oh, well, why don't I just build your own little server for it, and we can just, host it by itself, so it's not being interrupted by anything, and it'll be totally flawless. So that was the 2 days before we left for Christmas break, and he built this whole program for me, and he made the little icon that says CougarCast, which is now going to appear on all the teachers' desktops, and you just click on it and rock and roll. And so
they're accessing basically the server at that point.
Correct.
And so it's just stored on the server. They open it up, and it's like a network server.
Yeah,
that
so
they
it's
can
still
just
all
connect
live.
to.
And so we have our live stream like website going as well, and everything is still run through that. But then you can also access it through this server as well.
And that was just one of your students.
Yep.
How old was he? A sophomore?
He's a senior.
Okay.
But I mean, he is definitely going places. And so, he was just like, Miss Robin, I just don't understand why y'all haven't thought about this before. And I'm like, all right, thanks, Grayson. Greatly appreciate it. You know?
Yeah, you've had quite a few students like that. That from their early years they were rock stars from the get-go.
Absolutely.
You know? There's a lot of students, which is great, that have they start a little and then they work their way up through their years and they learn more. But you have some that are just prodigies.
Absolutely.
You know? They've been experimenting at home all their life, and they've just waited for like a program at school where they can just keep messing around with this great technology.
I love that. I love listening to their ideas and figuring out what they can come up with. And so I think even with CougarCast, that's been a huge outlet for them creatively, you know, to be able to edit these videos and do these interviews and just practice their, you know, speaking and interview skills. It's just been phenomenal to watch. And, you know, these kids who just, I've got a camera, you know, I mean, really, you're a big inspiration for that. You know, I tell the story all the time about how you used to do the football videos, and you were in my 7th hour class. And so they were top secret until the football team could see them.
Of course.
And so we would lock the doors and we would watch it here.
Give me notes on it.
There'd be like a line outside the help desk of like kids and be like, what's going on in there? Can't tell you, you know. Like,
3 minutes, the doors are locked.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And so
that was fun times.
It was. And I just I remember those videos, and I, you know, remembered, you know, I mean, I reference you all the time, and just like, oh, well, that's not Brennan quality over here. You know, we got to get up to date here.
All right, settle down. Settle down.
So, yeah, but it's been awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, you know, more kids going into, you know, film type stuff. And it's not just, you know, behind the camera, there's editing, there's so many different things. And then
so many
computers and all that
you
stuff.
know, like, just like the technology aspect. I mean, like, once again, I had a marketing degree, you know, and so, you know, I've been going to a lot of TV show kind of like conferences this year, and I was like, this is a whole new world for us. You know, we have no idea, at least with our one-to-one program. You know, I'd worked at a school before, I'd gone to a school before, I had some kind of inkling of, you know, what was going on. This is all just, you know, we learn as we go, which has made it even more fun, you know. So
is CougarCast based on world news, or is it just
STM News?
STM News, gotcha.
Correct, yes.
And so y'all have like an anchor, like a student?
We do. We have 2 anchors, and we do 3 pre-recorded stories per episode, and then everything else is live in between.
This is every day or once a week?
Just on Fridays.
Yeah.
And so homecoming week, we did an episode Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and everyone's like, oh my God, are you crazy? Like, how are you going to handle this? And I was like, you know what? I said I was going to do it, and we're going to do it. You know, but it's actually a course this year instead of an after-school club, which has made a world of a difference. And so, I mean, the goal ideally is to go daily, maybe. I mean, it stresses me out a lot.
Well, I mean, it could be like a partnership with newspaper. I mean, they're already writing about some stuff.
Correct.
And, you know, it could become a thing if you had more anchors and more writers and a couple of people filming and editing.
Absolutely. So
in
for
their
any
classes.
current student that's listening to this, we are definitely recruiting. My class consists of 12 people. 8 of them are seniors, and so we need editors specifically. So yeah.
And what are y'all editing on? Premiere or Final Cut?
Yeah. No.
Another great skill to learn.
Completely.
It's like coding. You know, if you can learn how to edit on Premiere, I mean, that's a marketable.
Absolutely.
You know,
After Effects, Illustrator, InDesign.
Specifically, actually, even more so than Premiere is After Effects and Illustrator and Photoshop. If you can know those, then you're really marketable.
We work with Advancement all the time on some big projects, you know, and so our, you know, one of our communications people is like, you know, if these kids really know this at a high school level, I mean, that's just,
it's crazy.
Jobs lining up for you right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, I love watching the kids. It's really been fun, you know, especially having these 2 different outlets. And so, you know, when we formed our CougarCast, you know, that was just help desk kids doing their aspect of it, and then like speech and debate kids being anchors. And so now blending those 2 worlds together and then recruiting more has been really fun.
Totally.
And then I think just the fact that we're now doing the Jumbotron for football has been really exciting.
Right.
So, like, you know, our kids are getting a lot of experience. Just the school plays coming up, and they do the soundboard for that. You know, it's not just the hardware of these computers that they're working on every day. There's so many aspects to their job that they don't, you know, every day is different. And I think that's what keeps us all here.
Robin, thank you for sitting with me and chatting about this whole program. I hope, you know, it continues successfully, and I know it will. And I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future, and certainly where your alumni, because now that they're graduated college, it's going to be they got big things ahead of them. So it'd be really cool to see, what the help desk and what the program here has done for those kids in the future.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to this episode of Sheauxtime. The podcast is sponsored by no one. Well, not yet at least, but it could be you or your business. So if you know someone, or if you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, get in touch with me. SheauxtimePodcast@gmail.com. Sheauxtime spelled SHEAUX time podcast. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, one of the ways you can really help me out is by making sure you're subscribed to it on iTunes or whatever podcast app you use. It's free and super easy to do, but it helps us out a ton. And if you're really enjoying the podcast, you can leave us a review or a rating on iTunes and on Facebook. It really only takes about 15 seconds. Here, go ahead and do it. I'll wait. Did you do it yet?